What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and happy all-time high for Bitcoin as we push into our local targets that we were anticipating yesterday on the live stream. We were looking at that $112,000 to $114,000 level, and we are pushing into 112K right now, right on time. So I wanted to drop this quick Bitcoin update for you guys, go over the next local targets to the upside, some of the key levels of support that I'm watching. We have some major levels of support that we really want to hold in order to continue this push to the upside. And I also wanted to cover some of my longer term macro high time frame Bitcoin price predictions if this run is going to continue and it is going to be that next leg to the upside. We have some major signals that we're looking at on Market Cypher B. It's going to be a good one, Mafia. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. So guys, as we can see here, Bitcoin is finally cracking that all-time high, previously sitting at about $109,880. Guys, we have finally came up and kissed that level yesterday during the day, and then we finally got that big push through the all-time high, and we were looking at some very specific local targets on yesterday's live stream, sitting between about $112,000 and $114,000, and you guys can see we are now approaching those levels. What a shocker. The TA plays out again, and I know it had gotten pretty scary here down at about $75,000, but as you guys know, we were not bearish here as we had not broken any significant market structure, and we did come into that 786 Fibonacci retracement level with nice bullish divergences, and this is something that we have been looking at forever. This is a post that I've shown before from the premium Discord all the way back in February, and we knew that there was a possibility to come out and sweep some of this liquidity down between about $85,000 and $75,000, and you can see here up at 85K, we were still anticipating a bigger drop down, but not for the bear market, guys. We were simply looking for high time frame bullish divergences, specifically the daily bull divs with money flow coming up, and that is literally exactly what we saw happen. We wound up coming into that 786 retracement and putting in those daily bullish divergences with lower lows on our price action, higher lows on our momentum waves, with that money flow coming up, and then that is where we were anticipating the bigger move, at least into our previous volume profile to fill that range in full, and then once we got above that POC, things were looking pretty good as far as money flow being deep in the green here on the daily, so we anticipate that value area high and even new all-time highs, and here we finally are seeing that play out almost perfectly here, and we are approaching our local targets here between 112 and 114K that we looked at on last night's live stream. If you missed that live stream, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next price targets, and we have remained in our bullish bias here even at resistance, understanding the context of the market, anticipating the all-time high to get broken, and we have now come into those local price targets. Very, very nice to see at about $112,000. We actually just came up and tapped that level just barely here. We kind of front ran it a little bit. This Fibonacci level is technically sitting at about $112,212. Now, as we looked at on last night's live stream, as we were playing around with this all-time high, guys, we knew we had these Fibonacci extension levels. If we are able to flip that $112,260 level, the next target to the upside is going to be sitting up here at about 114K. We even said on the live stream last night, are we about to see $112,000 Bitcoin? And here we are, right on time, guys, seeing the TA play out once again, and this could be the start of a much bigger move. Now, this does not necessarily mean that we have to see Bitcoin shoot directly up to 114K. I will be anticipating some kind of resistance from this level or even deeper in this purple box. But it is nice to see those local targets starting to get hit on Bitcoin as we've been looking at, and we are starting to see some of these higher time frame red dots look to print here on Market Cypher B. We have a 12-hour red dot looking to print, a 16-hour red dot looking to print, but I would say, guys, overall, I am still bullish here, even if we are able to get a bigger retracement. I do want to cover some of those key levels to the downside that we'll be watching, but before we do that, I do want to actually cover some of the higher targets in case this does start to get really exciting to the upside. So if we are able to hop on top of this $112,000 level, push up into 114K, like I said, there definitely is an opportunity to get some kind of resistance here, whether it is from the $112,000 or $114,000 level. But once we get out of this Fibonacci extension zone, guys, if we get another big move to the upside, I will say the next technical target, in my opinion, is going to be really sitting between 119,000 and about 120K. And the reason I mention 120K is just because of that nice even 120, somewhat of a psychological level there. And these Fibonacci targets have worked worked absolutely perfectly, not only coming into 112 to 114K, but we even had some more local Fibonacci targets that we looked at earlier this week that did end up getting tapped perfectly. We have these magic Fibonacci extensions, guys, at 107K. When we were hitting resistance here at the value area high, we knew we had that extension level up here at 107K, and sure enough, we shot up into that level before getting the cool off. So these extension levels are extremely effective in predicting where price will go, and we're going to use that same technique to call for the higher time frame macro bull market price predictions that I'm going to get into in just a minute. But I do just want to warn, we are coming into some resistance. We will be looking for some turbulence up here. If we do see some turbulence, I want to talk about some of the biggest key levels down below if we do get some kind of a cool off. Now, number one, the clearest level on the chart that we're really going to want to watch is going to be that all-time high. In my opinion, if we are just going to continue to put in higher lows and scream to the upside like we have been, I would say the all-time high is going to be one of the biggest levels to watch at $109,880. If this aggressive uptrend continues, you would really want to hold above that all-time high. Now, although it would be nice to hold this level, I wouldn't say losing this is the most bearish scenario, because if we do lose the all-time high and go for a bigger pullback, we do still have the major support level of the macro value area high of our longer-term range that we have been watching forever. And when you're able to break out of these ranges, guys, sometimes price will come back down and retest that value area high. So if we do start to get some turbulence here at about $112,000, at the Fibonacci extension levels, all-time high at about 109,880 is going to be the big level to watch. If we do end up losing that, we could start that bigger retracement down to the value area high of the macro range. Now, this is an absolutely gigantic critical level to hold because, as you know, once we lose that value area high, we are at risk of getting accepted back into this larger area of value, which does bring us all the way back down to about $91,000. And nobody wants to see that level come in. I'm not calling for that, but I do just want to kind of explain the context and importance of this level, not just the fact that it's key support, but like what could potentially happen if we lose it. And that's anytime you lose a value area high, you are potentially anticipating to get stuck under that value area high and get that move down to the POC. Now, we do have some key levels down below. This is actually going to be a bit of a zone. We have the value area high of the range. We also have this Fibonacci retracement when pulled from this higher low into the all-time high here. You can see the golden pocket and 786 Fibonacci retracement does come in pretty nice confluence with this value area high, and this zone does come in between about 104,133 and 105,920. So if we do get the bigger retracement here, let's say we get knocked down a little bit, once we start losing that 786, guys, I want to point out that we do have a lot of liquidity sitting below this range. And if we take a look at the liquidation heat maps, you can see that sitting between about 102.21 all the way down to about $100,800, and that does come in right below these lows here, guys. You can see below all of these little wicks, we probably do have a lot of liquidity from everybody entering long positions inside of this range. So if we do wind up losing the all-time high, coming down to the value area high, if we do not get any support at these levels, and we lose this 786, I will be looking to come potentially sweep these lows before getting back into our local scalp range, which we've been looking at forever on the channel here. It sits right in this consolidation. We could come down to that value area low, come in, sweep out some of that liquidity before finally reclaiming and then hopefully breaking back out of the range for all-time highs. Now, obviously, we would prefer to just see these upper levels of support held. However, this is something you want to keep in mind when looking at the chart in case you do get some kind of a big retracement. Things get very exciting, and then everybody's like, oh my God, what's happening? We're getting the big dump. It is important to realize that you do have a lot of liquidity sitting down there. So if we are able to move our way down there, it could start to act as a stronger and stronger magnet. And then you can see we do have another area of liquidity here sitting at about 105.3, which coincidentally sits in our first support zone here. So, you know, ideally we hold the all-time high. If we lose that, I will be anticipating a bigger pullback to potentially sweep out that liquidity. This is, again, I would rather bounce off this level than come back down to these lows. And the reason for that, guys, is because I really do not want to see us get stuck back inside this range. It just makes it a little bit more of a difficult trade because even if you are looking for a bounce here, you're coming into that macro value area high, which is massive resistance. It doesn't mean that you can't bounce out of here, but you just have to understand the context of when you get back into that range, you are at risk of getting accepted into that lower value. So these are the bigger levels that I'm looking at, but we'll approach the lower range if we have to, right? Again, we are still above very key levels here. One thing I am going to be aware of is we could get a failed auction up above this previous all-time high where where we come up, we kind of ping pong around at higher prices, and then once you lose that all-time high, that could be the end. That could be your failed auction for that bigger drop to the downside. We probably have a pretty decent low volume gap here, so once we lose that level, we could see that quick drop to the downside, sweep out some of those long positions, and then hopefully we can get support on that value area high. So I would say all-time high and this value area high Fibonacci zone are the two biggest levels to look at on the chart. And then if we start losing this 786 at about 104, 178, that's kind of where we can say, hey, let's go ahead and just look at our local scalp range, understanding all that liquidity down below, and we'll just trade that as a typical volume profile where you can deviate below the value area low, potentially look for new range trades into the value area high, which will hopefully turn into a bigger swing trade into new all-time highs. Now, I want to talk about some of the big bullish signals that we're seeing on Market Cypher B. We actually covered this on the live stream yesterday. Something we've been looking at for a while now is the monthly green dot printing. We have 9 days and 7 hours to confirm this. And anytime we typically get a green dot here during a bull market, guys, on the monthly time frame, it does almost perfectly correlate with the next leg up in that bull market. You can see we have a monthly green dot right here, which started the next leg to the upside. We even had a monthly green dot print right down here, which wound up giving us the next leg up, and then you can see here our last monthly green dot that printed was also a next leg up in the bull market. And here we are again with another monthly green dot. But there's another bullish signal on Market Cypher B, guys, that has correlated with every single one of these green dots printing that assisted the move to the upside, and that is the 2-day money flow crossover. And as you can see, if we go back in time here, the last time we had that monthly green dot, 2-day money flow was crossing into the green, massive move to the upside. Even here, we came down, money flow was in the red, and as we were printing that monthly green dot, money flow was creeping to the upside, crosses into the green, next big leg up, so on and so forth. Next monthly green dot, money flow was crossing into the green around the same time, gives us that next leg to the upside. And if we look at the money flow on the 2-day right now, we have been in the red for quite some time, scaring everybody at the lows, but we understand the TA, and we understand that is not the most bearish scenario as we were at key support with bullish signals, and we have gotten that big move up so far with the daily money flow crossover into the green, indicating that the trend would continue to the upside. This is what helped us remain with our bullish bias to continue up to all-time highs. And we're going to use the same thing because if that daily money flow is crossed over into the green, that 2-day is looking like it is following up just behind it, especially with the green dot printing, and the correlation with that monthly green dot is just typically a very bullish sign for Bitcoin. And it looks like history may be about to repeat itself. And even if we do get the bigger pullbacks that we're talking about, we might be able to still continue the bigger move up to some higher macro targets. If we're going to get this next big leg up, guys, I want to talk about the high time frame targets for the bull market for Bitcoin, some price predictions for you based off information and Fibonacci targets that we've used time and time again. They've hit time and time again. There's no guarantee, but they have worked out pretty well so far. So let's go ahead and dive into these. Now, if I come on over here to a macro chart, you guys can see this is actually a chart that I made a long time ago before we started really getting big moves to the upside. And we were pretty much just looking at these Fibonacci extension zones pulled from the all-time high all the way to the bear market low, and we had our first target sitting up here at about $91,000 to $102,000, and eventually we did make our way up there, and that is exactly where we wound up getting the resistance before our first big 30+% correction in the bull market. This is not uncommon in a bull market. This is why I remained bullish. 30% pullbacks are very, very common, guys, in Bitcoin bull markets. So that is another reason why we were not that scared. 30% is nothing really to scoff at when it comes to Bitcoin. And especially because it was coming in at our first major target, it made a lot of sense that we could potentially put in that higher low and the higher high. And here we are. So target number 1 has been smashed, and we have now gotten the cool off, and we have now broken out into new all-time highs. So what is that next macro Fibonacci extension zone that I'll be looking at? And again, this is not to be anticipated to get hit tomorrow or the next day or even next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But longer term, guys, if we are able to see that monthly green dot with the 2-day money flow crossover give us that big rip to the upside, the next major Fibonacci extension zone that I will be looking at is sitting right up here. That first level sits at about $137,000. Now, obviously, we have the local targets above, right? We'll have to assess price action as we come in there. But again, if this is going to be another massive leg up, we could potentially look to come into that Fibonacci extension level at $137,000. Target number 1 for the bull market, check it off the list. Target number 2, although it may take some time to get up there, is going to be sitting at about $137,000. And above that, guys, we could potentially push into the next target, which does sit at that beautiful $155,000 level. And I want to be very clear here, guys. I am not just going to sit on my Bitcoin. If things look bearish at our next local key levels of resistance, I am not just going to sit on my hands and say, well, the Fibonacci target's up here. I'm just going to wait for price to come up there before I sell. I am obviously going to watch all the local levels and price action react at those key zones. If things look bearish before that, I'll be the first person to let you know. But if we are able to get that next leg up, this is the next zone I'm looking at, 137 to 155K long term, right? And then once we get up there, I will be taking more profit on my spot Bitcoin bags. And if it looks super bearish up there, maybe we could start to question whether the cycle is over or not. But if it looks good, we will hold the rest of our bags and then push up into our next zone, which I don't want to get too carried away here, guys. We do have the $209,000 zone up here. Again, I'm not just like holding my bags here, hoping for 209K. Remember, you don't want to get greedy, whether you're waiting for lower prices or higher prices. You have to take profit on the way up, because if you get a surprise like we did last cycle, everybody wanted 100K. We got nowhere near it, and a lot of people wound up round tripping their bags, and we are not going to let that happen here, guys. So just keep in mind, you do have to take profit on the way up. Would I love a 209K Bitcoin? Absolutely, but I'm not just going to sit there, cross my fingers, and hope that it gets hit. If it looks bearish at 137K, I'm going to be taking profits. If it looks bearish at 155K, I'm going to be taking profits, right? It's going to be a level-to-level game. I am going to be analyzing the price action as it develops into these next key levels, but I want you guys to have these levels on your chart so you know, right? If we rip up to 137K, that's where you're going to start hearing those crazy price predictions, 500K by the end of 2025 or whatever it is, right? You just want to make sure that if the TA is going against those random price predictions, you want to really stick to the charts, because that's exactly how we were able to avoid, right, selling the bottom here at 75K with clear bullish signals. We were able to, not sell the bottom there by understanding that the macro market structure is just clearly bullish here, right? And we're just going to continue following that technical analysis, and hopefully it continues to play out, and hopefully the technical targets here on the Fibonacci extensions continue to play out. But super, super exciting to see Bitcoin not only coming into our local targets, but breaking the all-time high with big bullish signals on Market Cypher B potentially printing. But again, you can't get carried away, guys. We do have local targets here with some potentially lower time frame when we're talking about macro, right? We do have the 3-day red dot, 4-day red dot looking to print. Once these print, we could see another decent pullback, but I wouldn't really necessarily, if this is the next leg up, I would not anticipate it to be something like this. I would just be looking for higher lows and higher highs. So you guys have all the key levels of support to the downside, the local targets to the upside, and hopefully we could get those moon boy price predictions to come in at these Fibonacci extension levels. But I just wanted to keep you guys updated here as price has finally made all-time highs. Congratulations, Mafia. We made it. The bear market indeed was not here, and we are sitting at $112,000. What a beautiful time to be alive, guys. So pray for Bitcoin. Hopefully we can keep these moves to the upside going, and I'll keep you guys updated as things change on the chart with the live streams, the market updates, etc. So with all that being said, guys, that's all the time I got for today's video. Just wanted to give you guys those key levels and updates here as price action's getting pretty exciting. You don't want to get too bullish at the high here, but now you guys have all the key levels and my general plan here for the continuation of price. If we start breaking those super key levels of support, and I think there's a big dump incoming, I'll be the first person to let you know. So I'll see you guys on the live stream a little later at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's all I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Let's go Bulls. Frankie Candles out.
We go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up. Yeah, maxed out.